On July 4th, 1776, the original 13 colonies of the United States of America officially severed their ties to the rule of Great Britain with a Declaration of Independence. Today, this holiday allows us to reflect on not only our freedom from Great Britain, but also on how we identify as citizens of the United States of America. Now, like many of you, as a child, I learned in school that our country was a melting pot. I was intrigued by the notion of lots of different people being poured into a place together and blending their cultures and their languages and their colors. Now, many people have forgotten or never learned the truth about the beginning of our country. In school, I loved hearing about the hands that built the United States of America. I loved learning about the settlements of the colonies, the culture of those very early days. But I also know that today we are a very different country. I learned more about the history of this country when I attended a Racial Equity Institute several years ago. And that was when I discovered many events and people that were never mentioned or included in the history books that I read in school. I was informed about practices that prohibited people of color from enjoying the same freedom and benefits that I had as I grew up in the United States of America. Although this country was founded by immigrants, and in fact we are all immigrants, we still struggle to this day to understand the inequities across the land. Langston Hughes, a Black social activist who passed away in 1967, wrote these still relevant words in 1936 in his poem, "Let America Be America Again." Here is just part of that profound poem that he wrote. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. America was never America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with any false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be the land where every man is free. Now, although those words were written before the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964, we are still painfully aware of the inequities that exist to this very day and must be remedied. When it comes to thinking about how things are right now emotionally in the United States, I would identify a different metaphor from the melting pot. Because we are so divided politically and in terms of our values, I see our country as a land of islands. We are divided into pods of people based on our political and our social beliefs. And to be honest, education level is part of that divide as well. We live on our islands and often yell across the water at our neighbors on the next island who have disappointed us or who do not agree with us, but who are still like us in so many ways. When large-scale tragedy hits the land, we quickly and lovingly build a bridge to the next few islands and cross over to offer help and love and prayers. And then, when the tragedy abates and life returns a little bit to normal, we tear the bridges back down. That's the emotional part of living in this country. Always physically separated from each other due to the states and distance, but always connected in some pep rally kind of way in spirit and pride. We are far from a perfect nation, but I still believe in the greatness of this country. Mostly, I guess, I believe in the greatness of people. When things don't make sense to me, I often turn my sights and my heart inward, and I narrow my gaze. When I look locally at groups of people, I feel encouraged. When I look at the kindness and community and support on my individual islands, I know that people are often loving and generous. When I think about what it means to be a citizen of this country, I think of freedom, even though I know that there are marginalized groups of people who have never had equal freedom. Yet I still find hope in the human spirit. I wholeheartedly agree with Anne Frank, who wrote, "In spite of everything, I believe that people are really good at heart." I still believe that people will continue to care about each other and about the inequalities that remain in our land, and in caring about the imbalance of freedoms and power and opportunities and wages, I believe that good people will continue to fight for those freedoms for all people. A few years ago, an AP English teacher asked her students to answer this question: what does it mean to be a United States citizen? A student named Heather wrote this response: I was born on February 14th, 1986, in Seoul, South Korea. I was put up for adoption because my birth mother wanted me to have a better life and wanted me to come to America, which I think says a lot about what a great country we live in. 6 months later, I was adopted and on a plane on my way to Detroit, Michigan. 9 years later, I became a citizen of the United States. I was now a legal resident with a Social Security number. I was made a citizen so late because my mother wanted me to remember that day. At the time, I didn't realize what a proud day it was. I was no longer just another foreigner. I was now a U.S. citizen. I no longer had the threat to be deported. I was now here to stay. Being an American citizen can be described in one simple word: freedom. In America, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Being an American citizen isn't a right, it's a privilege. The words written by that student remind me of a passage in the Bible about freedom. It's found in Galatians chapter 5. It is absolutely clear that God has called you to a free life. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want to do and destroy your freedom. Rather, use your freedom to serve one another in love. That's how freedom grows. I think this passage helps us to connect the patriotism of our nation with its promise of freedom, to the freedom that we receive from God. I think that within this passage there is a caution that our freedom should not be self-serving, but rather it should be a freedom of generosity and compassion. Rosa Parks understood this notion of freedom of generosity and compassion as evidenced by these words. I would like to be remembered as a person who wanted to be free, so other people would be also free. Our hope lies in people on the local level and the national level. Our hope for true freedom lies in our ability to remember the hands that built our country, to remember that many of those hands were not allowed in the main house, and to remember that we are all immigrants. Franklin Roosevelt said it best. Remember always that all of us are descended from immigrants and revolutionists. Yes, our country is flawed, but despite its failings, our country is a good one. While I keep the phrase melting pot in my head as part of my worldview, I also keep the Statue of Liberty in my head as part of my worldview. I see our country as a lighthouse of hope. I still believe it is one of the greatest lands of opportunity, filled with resources, education, and hope. Amen. If you want more content like this, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on YouTube, find us on Instagram, or go to nancylafferty.com.